Welcome to Gene and Mike do the New York Times crossword. Gene is off tonight, so I am doing solo duty for Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. I did do the crossword. I found it to be a little more challenging than usual, but that's because it involved one of my Achilles heels, and that would be Spanish. And that was really the theme, which means there were multiple clues where I was in trouble. Not only was I in trouble solving the crossword, I now realize that I have to attempt to explain a theme which I can barely pronounce the words of. So we'll just give it a whirl and see how it goes. The revealer is 39 across. Introductory foreign language class suggested by this puzzle's theme. And the answer is beginner Spanish. And there were several clues in which the answers involved a word that began in Spanish that I will surely mispronounce, and a word which I take to be in English that I might also mispronounce. As an example, 17 across 3 tickets. Well, the answer appeared to be trespasses. I think I pronounced that correctly. But if you recognize that tres, T-R-E-S, was Spanish for 3, then you have 3 passes, or 3 tickets, in which the beginning part was in Spanish and the trailing part was in English. It gets better, 26 across with money, and the answer appeared to be contender, which didn't make any sense until you recognize that con was Spanish for with, I am assuming that is the case, and tender, of course, is another word for money. The next one was 51 across, which appeared, the clue was more revered, and the answer was massacred, which made no sense at all, until again you applied your knowledge of Spanish and recognized that mas, M-A-S, means more, and sacred, of course, would be another word for revered, so massacred became mas sacred. The last one was 60 across, crazy reason, and the answer was locomotive, and even I know that loco means sort of crazy in Spanish, and motive, of course, is a reason. So, lovely set of themed answers, very clever. This was by Han Hyun. Beyond the theme crosswords, we had an interesting sub-theme going on. One across was friend on friends, and the answer was Joey. We had 57 across. Outback hoppers was ROOS. And finally, we had 16 across, birds with wings about 1/10 the length of their bodies, and that was emus. All of those, Joey, emus, and ROOS, refer to animals in Australia. So we had this bit of an Australian sub-theme going on. At least I think that was the case. It, of course, also might be entirely coincidental. 5 across. The other day, we had a clue. The answer was smudgy, referring to how people who are left-handed, sometimes their writing appears. In this case, we had, instead of smudgy, we had smear, and that was from besmirch. So a different kind of smudge or smear there. 10 across, the U.S. immigration policy, familiarly, it was not familiar to me. It took me a while to remember that it was DACA, D-A-C-A. Let's see here. We had revise, 11 down, and I always get these confused. It's either amend or amend. In this case, it was amend with an A. Let's see. Founder of the Pacific Fur Company in 1810 was Astor. I'm wondering if that's John Astor, the millionaire who died aboard the Titanic, and who I consider to be my namesake, because once when I went to a Titanic exhibit and every person going into the exhibit got a ticket, my ticket was for John Astor. That's as rich as I'm ever going to become. It was entirely fictional, which is a shame, but that's just the way it goes. We had 23 across, Lil blank, and when I see Lil, I think Abner, and it turned out that that was the correct answer in this situation. We had a few other relatively straightforward clues if you happen to be if it was in your wheelhouse, let's put it that way. 23 down, InDesign developer. That was Adobe. I used to use InDesign quite a lot. Really nice package. Let's see. We had 32 across, well-worn, old. That was pretty straightforward. Frodo Baggins' Pursuers, 35 across, was Orcs. There are orcs in the... I don't know how many times orcs has appeared in the crossword. I bet it's almost as many as Alan Alda. It's a very, very popular villain to include in the grid for some reason. I found 44 across to be quite challenging. The clue was sung tribute, and the answer was Paean, P-A-E-A-N. And I wanted to, for some reason, spell it P-A-E-O-N. The cross at 41 down was the office role, and of course I don't know the office. And so I had, for a long time, I had Palm rather than the correct answer of Pam. And when I changed that, I eventually got the happy music. 49 across was tricky, host. So I think about host, I was trying to get MC to work or someone else who was in charge of some sort of an event, but it turned out to be host as in many, as in myriad. So nice job there, Han. I fell right into your trap. We had 55 across, comedian Youngman, and that was Henny Youngman, one of the funniest comics of all time as far as I can tell. We had, goddess associated with the owl. 56 across was Athena. I think we had Athena not too long ago in the grid, and she is back again. It took me a very long time to figure out 48 down, resells at hiked up prices, scalps. I think I had most of the letters there before I finally figured out what the answer was. The P of scalps ran into 67 across, object of finger pointing on Fantasy Island. Listeners, that is an ancient television series. I think it involved someone who got stranded on an island. I don't know. Anyways, a plane was involved. It might have been bringing in people to the island to enjoy some sort of a fantasy. I think that was the basic idea. And one of the people on the show would always be saying, "The plane, boss, the plane," and pointing at it as they did. So the answer there, again, was plane. We had 62 down. Basketball's King James from 2003 to 10 and 2014 to 18. And that was CAV. I think that might be a reference to the Cavaliers. If Jean was here, she could probably explain it, explain who King James's parents were and all the rest. Alas, she is not here and is sorely missed. 54 was funny. It might go over your head. Drone, haha. And we had the old 61 down football cheer, football spelled F-U-T-B-O-L, and the answer therefore was Olay. 65 down, symbol on the collar of Crypto, the super dog. I knew that had to be an S, spelled E-S-S. We also had, let's see here, 71 across said C64 down. Doc treating 71 across, and 71 across turned out to be pets, and 64 down turned out to be vet. So you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You had to figure out, one of them had to give, but fortunately the crosses were all relatively gentle there. Let's see, I think 36 down was a bit of a puzzler for me. Poison found naturally in castor beans, ricin, R-I-C-I-N. So remind me not to eat too many castor beans at one serving, or at one setting rather. Let's see, suspect, 38 down was shady. That was a good clue. There were a lot of good clues in this crossword. And again, this crossword was by Han Hyun and edited as always deftly and fairly by Joel Fagliano. And so that is it for today. Thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully Gene will be back tomorrow for another episode of Gene and Mike do the New York Times crossword.